Howdy, howdy, happy Friday. Hey, I'm Adele, your holistic Lyme healing warrior and creator of the Design Your Holistic Lyme Healing Blueprint program, founder of the Limey and Crunchy free support community for you, all of which are linked in the description. And I hope you'll check out because my mission as a fellow Lyme warrior living in healing is to impart that possibility into your life because it's not just a possibility, it can be a reality. And if you don't believe that, I believe it for you. And I'm going to help you establish that belief system around your diagnosis because you're going to live your best life despite your diagnosis. Lyme does not define you. All right. Let's get cracking today on our topic, how to tell if you have Lyme disease. This topic is in honor of Lyme Disease Awareness Month, which is this month, the month of May, the current time of filming. So if you're catching this live, make sure you're liking and subscribing to this channel if you're on YouTube, or checking out Limey and Crunchy, which is linked below, and some of the other stuff I offer to support and further the healing of this community. I don't want you to miss anything. I got a lot of good stuff on the horizon for you and tons coming out this month, especially I think one of the best like content pieces I have going on all month long because it takes that long to get it through it all is my story. My story, which has been ongoing and evolving into more and more and more healing for over 20 years. That's right. I was diagnosed with Lyme as a child. I am not 19 years old anymore. I'm in my mid 30s now, and my diagnosis finally came about 20 years ago, but I was already chronic at the time of diagnosis. I went misdiagnosed and untreated and not properly treated for a long time. So I want that for none of you. I want full healing as fast as possible for you all. We already are on the time frame we're on. Let's not make it take any longer than necessary, right? So let's talk today about how to know if you have Lyme disease so that you can start getting answers and start getting healthier for yourself and start experiencing healing for yourself. Okay. All right. Bothering me there. All right. So I'm going to talk today about two main signs, really the bottom line of mostly what it takes to get a suspicion of Lyme disease. And then four will double the ante. Four ways to support your body while healing so you can start right away, no matter what your circumstances for treatment or a diagnosis even are. Okay. So if you suspect you might have Lyme disease, here's where to start. The first sign that you might have Lyme is if you have had a known tick bite at any time in your life, any type of tick for any amount of time attached to your body. Or if you have intimately been exposed to the bodily fluids of someone that was known to be or may have been infected by Lyme. That includes sexual contact, and that includes contact via the placenta in pregnancy or breastfeeding. So if you suspect your mother might have had Lyme, or you know she did, you have been exposed potentially, or you have been exposed and you are potentially infected with the Lyme spirochete. And if you have had sexual contact with a partner that is suspected to have or has been diagnosed with Lyme, you are potentially infected with the spirochete and have been exposed to Lyme. Research on those topics is evolving, but there is evidence of that transmission pathway being possible through bodily fluids. So that's number one. If you're having exposure directly by a tick yourself or secondarily through these bodily fluid pathways, and you're having a change in your health, how did I word it here? Health changes of any kind that are suspicious or even tricky or unexplainable or seemingly disconnected health changes. Because as we talked about in one of the last videos I just did, Lyme can look like a lot of symptoms. So go check out that video. There's not necessarily going to be distinct symptoms for everybody across the board, like the bullseye rash that they say you're going to get if you have Lyme. Not necessarily. Possibly only 50% of those infected with Lyme actually had or noticed a rash and or even had a rash at all, whether they noticed it or not. So don't count on one or a couple symptoms to indicate Lyme. Any unusual health changes outside your norm combined with an exposure can equal Lyme. And number two, unexplained health changes at all, even if you don't think you've had a known tick bite or you haven't found a tick on you or had exposure that you know of, and you also don't live in Antarctica, maybe too. Here's why. Ticks are in every continent of the world except pretty much Antarctica because of the freezing temperatures. So you have possibly been exposed to a tick in any continent, anywhere you've lived, and may not have known it because some ticks are smaller than poppy seed size. And imagine that in your hair. Would you necessarily ever know that was there? No. A lot of tick bites go undetected. So if you have unusual health changes of any variety, especially looking at autoimmune stuff and unexplained rashes and things with root causes that are difficult to get to the bottom of, you could potentially have Lyme disease, and that's not outside the realm of possibility. It might be worth looking into. We're going to talk about what that means going forward, but my quickest advice for, okay, what do I do then, is get to a Lyme literate provider. That is the best piece of advice I can give you, a reputable Lyme literate provider, because not all physicians are trained in Lyme disease sufficiently. Some just have had a lecture in med school one time about it. A Lyme literate provider is a specialist in the field. Just like if you had cancer or a rheumatological condition or an orthopedic injury, you would go to that specialist, the orthodoc, the rheumatologist, the hemonc doctor, the oncologist. You would go to the specialist for your specific need. The same is true with Lyme disease. You seek out the reputable specialist. I say go off of recommendations in your area, actually. And if I'm in central Pennsylvania, and if I can help you out where I'm located, in the realm I'm located, I've got a recommendation for you. But yes, that is my first and biggest piece of advice. If you don't know where to start and you think you might have Lyme disease, then what? How do we support our body while healing? All right, 4 ways to support your body while healing. All right. All right. Forgot to silence notifications earlier. My apologies. Here we go. Number 1, treat the problem with a specialist, like I just said. All right, I'm going to harp on that a moment. That is, I think, a very direct path to healing for most people. Okay. It's not necessarily the end all be all, but it's one of my top recommendations, to save time and energy and effort getting there. A reputable Lyme provider will help you get there on a good trajectory. This is also important because with Lyme disease comes co-infections oftentimes. And again, traditional doctors do not have all of this on their radar. They don't know how to properly test or evaluate symptoms necessarily. And your best bet for a straight shot forward in your healing is a Lyme specialist, a Lyme literate provider. Number 2, create a healing environment. Oh, that sounds so woo-woo. Okay. Zen, put on your music and your aromatherapy. Possibly. But what I mean by that is a generalized category for things like reducing stress, increasing and improving sleep for healing, recognizing and removing toxins from your environment, toxic relationships included, toxic chemicals, toxic foods, toxins that are not contributing to a healing trajectory for you. And also, in the toxin realm, learning about detoxing to improve your healing potential and your healing capabilities. And it also includes creating a time, space, and place for healing, and whatever that looks like for your individual circumstance. So when I say create a healing environment, it's an umbrella situation for a few different key components of what healing looks like. And it involves addressing emotional, mental, spiritual, communal stability as well, not just physical healing. Okay. Number 3, address your gut health and healing, since both Lyme disease and co-infections can and usually do attack the gut at some point. And treatment can also be hard on the gut. So at some point in time, you're just gonna have to buck up for addressing your gut healing, and it can be done. So addressing gut healing is going to be key. And number 4, support a healthy immune system and build into a healthy immune system with your lifestyle and your supplementation, your diet, all the things that contribute to a healthy immune system. If you would like more specifics about these key points of addressing healing potential right from the start, if you suspect something's going on with Lyme or co-infections, then you're going to want to get into Limey and Crunchy, like I mentioned in the beginning. That is our holistic healing support community where you can get further information on every single one of those 4 topics I just discussed in more detail, what that might look like for you, where to start with those topics, where to go from there, and how to do it in an empowered and peaceful way that's not overwhelming and exhausting and energy sucking, because that ain't healing, my friends. All right. I want to support you in any way I can as well. So if you're wanting to move the needle now, even further with further coaching and mentorship, then you want to also look at the Design Your Holistic Lyme Healing Blueprint that I've rolled out for Lyme Disease Awareness Month. This is my program that addresses all 4 of these things with coaching and mentorship and in the most broken down, detailed form, piece by piece, bit by bit. And it includes other healing modalities that are necessary for moving forward in a faster, more efficient way towards your health and healing goals when you're dealing with Lyme disease. Trust me. I know. I've been there and I wasted a lot of time and energy to get where I am today. No regrets, but let's make it better, faster, and work smarter, not harder. Right? I'm all about it. So check out what I mentioned in the description here. And I look forward to seeing you and voting you on towards your healing victories one step at a time.